Hey, liberal fruitcakes! Majorities and the filibuster. Let's talk about it! Now, today is a great day to talk about majorities and the filibuster. Why? This is because the Senate was able to pass a CR bill by invoking cloture, or the ending of a filibuster. This was done in support by Chuck Schumer and a couple other Democrats. The ending of cloture received 62 votes, and the bill was subsequently passed with 54 votes in favor of the bill. A lot of people are upset at Chuck Schumer. Oh no! But the reality is the Democrat Party was between a rock and a hard place. Why? Because under the Biden administration, they railed against Republicans for threatening a government shutdown, saying that would be detrimental to the American people. Now, the Democratic Party can't rail against government shutdowns and then subsequently turn around and try to invoke a government shutdown. Now, normally when a government shutdown occurs, it affects the party in power, so it would have affected the Republican Party. But this time, that's not true. Why? Because now you've got cannon fodder in way of advertisement showing Democrats railing against government shutdowns, saying that we shouldn't be able to leverage government employees and funding to get what we want, which many Democrats currently, right now, who didn't vote in favor of ending cloture, were doing. At the end of the day, the bill passed. What a wonderful day! So now let's look at majorities, because I think it's important. Now, there are 5 different types of majorities. Generally, we only hear about 2. That's simple majorities and supermajorities. But let's go through the 5 anyways. Number 1, a simple majority. This is when a quorum, or the minimum number of members required to do business, vote in favor of a bill, resolution, or whatever by more than half. All they need is 1 extra vote. Woo! A simple majority can pass most bills in the House and the Senate, barring the filibuster. But we'll get to that soon. Simple majority is also required for approving presidential candidates, with the exception of Supreme Court justices before 2017, which required a supermajority. But we're not to that one yet. Number 2, an absolute majority. This is when a chamber votes in favor of a resolution or bill, or whatever, by more than half, regardless of the number of members. This is only for very specific actions, like electing the Speaker of the House. Number 3, a supermajority. This is also known as a 2/3 majority, which means it requires 2/3 of the House or the Senate, or those voting, depending on the circumstances, to vote in favor. Now, what can this do? It can override presidential vetoes. It can approve constitutional amendments. A 2/3 majority is required to convict and remove an impeached or indicted, like we talked about before, president or official from the Senate. 2/3 majority is also required to expel members of Congress or suspend the House rules. So a simple majority can adjust House and Senate rules, but a supermajority is required to suspend them. We're actually going to pause because we're going to talk about the filibuster. Filibuster is the legislative option in which the Senate uses this tactic in order to be able to delay or block the voting on a bill. Now, the Senate doesn't really have requirements on how long you can discuss a bill. It can be indefinite. This is known as filibustering. Now, in olden times, a member of the Senate would be required to continue to speak in order to stop the voting of the bill. So they would continue to deliberate and debate over the bill. Today, that's not the case. Senators just have to say that they're going to filibuster it. The Senate has to vote to end the filibuster. This is known as cloture. The filibuster wasn't originally in the Constitution. It was created in 1806. It replaced the previous question motion, which actually allowed simple majorities to move off of debate. The first use of it was in 1837. That was the first time it was recognized. And in 1917 is when the Senate passed the rule of cloture. Invoking of cloture requires our next majority, so let's talk about that. Number 4, a 3/5 majority, or 60%. This requires 60 out of 100 senators to invoke cloture and end the filibuster. And number 5, unanimous consent. This one's pretty self-explanatory. It means everybody in Congress approved a proposed action. Now, crazy as it seems with the political climate the way it is actually used quite often. Most recently in 2023, when the Senate voted on a stopgap bill, which was short-term funding for the federal government, which everybody agreed that's what they were going to do. Unanimous consent, which we probably won't see for the next 4 years. Probably. So if you don't like what's going on, if you are concerned about what's getting voted on, just remember, you can pay attention to what senators vote on what, and if you don't like the way they voted, like Democrats voting against H.R. 28, that one's worth looking up, then you can vote somebody else in who better represents you. Have a good day!